Welcome back. As we promised, we are going to shed more light on the important visit of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who started his visit yesterday and was received at Cairo International Airport by Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Waly, as the Indian Premier is expected to be received also by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to hold some talks and to discuss a number of issues of mutual concern and to witness the signing of different memoranda of understanding in many fields. To shed more light on the important visit, we are very much delighted to have with us via phone Engineer Mustafa Waly, our economic expert. Thank you very much for being with us, Engineer Waly. Hello?
Thank you very much. Hello. Thank you very much for having me, and it's always a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. First, before going into details, how do you see the developments of the Egyptian-Indian ties in the past few years?
It was very impressive and very positive relation. It goes now to decades, actually, of course, by time. It was increasing and more fostered in the sense that both peoples are having together common history and common aspiration along, especially after a long time of colonization, and then they are now free countries for more than half a century, more than, and with India and its position in Asia and its history and its culture, always it was very positive, the relation between both countries. And it took a lot of levels, including, of course, the economic and cultural, and it's getting further and it's getting more stronger now, and hopeful that the future will be much more, inshallah.
The cultural, even relations between both peoples, do you think they added value to the relations in general, whether the political relations, the relations on the political leaderships level, but between the two peoples there are linkage, I may say. There are connections. Even the soft power, the stars of Bollywood shaped a big part of our memories as Egyptians. If you agree with me on that.
I agree totally, because, and even I myself found that, or always feel and understand that cultural relation, especially between countries and peoples across the distance, across continents, if there is some cultural relation based on long history of cooperation, of getting together, even before, even it goes to centuries or tens of years, it always helps, actually, because there will be kind of mutual understanding and aspirations also, because there will be common features when it comes to life, to looking for life and for aspiration. I agree with you totally. The cultural side is really
And
important.
to add to what you have just said, sir, there are many similarities. Both Egypt and India were suffering under the British colonialism for years and years, for decades. And gaining our independence was also very close to each other. And when you go deeper in our modern history, you're gonna find late President Gamal Abdel Nasser and late Indian leader also, Jawahar Lal Nehru, having many summit talks, all for the best interest of the two peoples.
Yes, let's remember first the very famous historical figure. It's Mahatma Gandhi and his role in liberating India, and his role in the moral side of a lot and aspiration of a lot of colonized countries in Africa and in Asia. And if we get back again to the history, you will find that President Nasser and the late President Nehru, together they formalized, they established one of the most important, let's say, political movement for the third world, which is the non-aligned,
Non-alignment.
non-aligned
Yes.
movement. Yeah, and this has its effect actually over the history for some decades. This is history. I mean, we cannot deny it was there. Yeah.
Yes, and back to what's going on these days, or particularly in 2023, when President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was invited by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to be the guest of honor in the celebrations of New Delhi with their independence. And it was the very first time for an Egyptian president to be the official guest of honor in such celebrations. And then they agreed to raise the relations, or to boost the relations between Egypt and India to be a strategic partnership. How do you see this, sir, for the best interest of both peoples?
Yeah, fortunately for me, I'm following India's activities actually in Egypt when it comes to relations and investment. And I found this visit was very, very pivotal. And now you see it with less than, I mean, half a year. There is the second visit of Mr. Modi here, and with this reception, and through a very big visit for him across, I mean, the other way, the other side of the globe. He is coming from the States directly in Egypt to Egypt and meeting the president and even meeting, the local community. I mean, the Indian community here in Egypt. This is actually very impressive when it comes to the nature of relations between heads of states and people. And when it takes such closeness and such intimacy, then you must be sure that there is something good coming out of this relation on all levels. And of course, one of the most important of this level is the economic side.
This is what I wanted to focus on, and to have some details, as the fields of cooperation are very much large. I mean, we diversified, let's put it this way, the fields of cooperation with India. I mean, in the first visit of President Sisi, or today Prime Minister Narendra Modi, both are going to witness the signing of a number of memoranda of understanding. And here I'm talking about defense, about counter-terrorism, about culture, about the volume of trade and investments, and also regarding the vocational training to exchange expertise in different domains. How do you see this diversity, sir?
It proves what we have been talking about, because it takes an actual implementation on the ground. And when it comes to the most important out of this, I mean, well, to get the benefit from our friendship together as two nations, and as two peoples, the economic side, because the investment of India in Egypt and the demand of Egypt that to carry on such success in establishing such a good relation and developing it to now, if you get into figures, which is very important, the figures in this case, you see that the investment of India is getting up and up, and the diversity of the fields where India is there, it's really fascinating. It's a large, out of my experience with this, it's getting from, if you talk about the sophisticated and the important and top industrial sectors like chemical industries, for example, and passing by even to the most and the latest information technologies. This is great. And on the ground, you will find factories, you will find personnel, you will find a lot of things which prove that the relations and the development in this sector, economic sector at large.
And there are also plans to increase bilateral trade to $12 billion within the next 5 years.
Yes,
some experts are saying
that this is a goal. Yes,
I
hope we can get it. Inshallah, we can. Yes.
Some are saying that even $12 billion, it's not that big number compared to the vast areas of cooperation between the two countries. Others are saying that it's only a first step in a long journey. Which is which, sir?
The last one, the other, yes. But at least let's achieve, let's put a plan for achievement, for development, actually, because figures is the outcome of what goes on the ground, especially when it comes to economy. And together with India, the prospects of increasing the prospects of developing, the prospects of introducing new energy and new industries together and succeed in it is there. Let me give you one important example. Soon, green hydrogen will be a very big, and very popular, international popular concept. And Egypt is entitled and actually prepared to have a big role in this, even in Africa, to be the leader in this. India is willing to get into this, and there will be some moment of understanding regarding this. I'm just giving you an example. But anyway, to reach this 12 million, out of what we have right now is 7 point something, let's say 8. That's something. I mean, 50% increase within these few years to come, and so on. And sometimes you can have a leap in the cooperation, and there is always a chance for good surprises in such way.
Green hydrogen is the future. Renewable energy is the future. And I think that this is something which is now that clear, and it is of our priorities as a modern state.
Absolutely, absolutely. And India has a good record in it, a very, very good record, actually, compared to a lot of other countries in Asia or in Europe even, and in Africa.
Sir,
We
there is
also have
also a
our
will
good
of,
record in
yeah,
renewable energy, especially the solar and wind.
yep.
And luckily, India is helping us and is working with us in this field.
Amen
Yes,
to that.
this is a real potential for sure.
And we are encouraging the Indian startups and Indian businessmen to come and to invest here in Egypt. And as you've kindly mentioned, Moody is going to meet with the Indian community in Egypt. And I think
Yes.
the meeting, or their meetings to be accurate, are going to tackle this issue in specific. Indian investments in Egypt. And here I'm not only talking about the mega projects or the huge companies, but even the startups.
Yeah, very nice remark. And actually, I am keen personally, and I'm talking personally, but this is again fact, the startups and the small and medium enterprises exchange actually of the experience and even establishing on the ground, some good projects with this, under this category. There is a very good chance for the Indian side to have it with us here in Egypt. And talking about, promoting the investment, let me tell you something. Just recently, only just last week, it ended one of the most important gathering and conferences held in New Delhi, just concentrating on investing in Africa. And we are in Africa, and we are on the gate to Africa. And we always, Egypt is always there, and it's very
Via
good
the
chance
Suez Canal.
exchanging.
And this is something which I wanted also to discuss with you, sir, as Vice Admiral Osama Rabia, the head of the Suez Canal Economic Zone, received an Indian delegation yesterday, 2 days ago exactly, and they discussed many chances for the Indian investors as part of the Indo-Pacific strategies, and to make sure that India is going to find its way to Africa through the Suez Canal Authority, through the Suez Canal Economic Zone, and through the geographic location of Egypt. How do you see Egypt as being the gate to Africa via the Suez Canal, and asking or encouraging the Indian investors to come and to invest here, whether in the Suez Canal Economic Zone or to consider the Suez Canal as their gate to the Black Continent?
Absolutely, I agree with what you have mentioned. It is a fact there, and the Indian business community was interested in developing, in investing in Africa and in Egypt. They are very, very keen about these issues, and they know it very well. They are very clever, actually. And they are concentrating their business in Egypt to cover all. First of all, they are giving as much of the diversity when it comes to the sectors of investment. But meanwhile, they are very impressed and they show that their confidence because they are living with us here, they know what's going on, then they know the facilities for having a successful investment. It is now, it's every day is more getting more strength and more credibility. And they are one of the first countries, I mean business people from India, they know this fact very well, and they appreciate it because they know the importance of it more than anybody else. Because they have a vast country, and they know the importance of roads and the facilities. Yes, and they are looking for the Suez Canal SE zone, which is the Suez Canal Economic Zone, and also they look at it as a very important destination for their. And even the coast in Alexandria. I mean, in Alexandria, they are clever people. Actually, they are very clever people, and they are successful. Actually, most of their work and most of their business are really,
And they
if not all,
proved that
are really successful.
Yes,
Here
and
in
they
Egypt.
proved that
Yes.
that they invaded the new markets. Now the pharmaceutical industries, for example, in India,
Yeah.
are very
Yeah.
successful. And when it comes to the Indian generic drugs, for example, this is a huge market, and they really help
Yeah.
us in the production of hepatitis C drugs.
Yeah.
This was one of the fruitful cooperation between Egypt and India, and this was not only fruitful, but it had its positive impacts on both sides. Sir, the visit of Narendra Modi came just a few days after President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi returned from Paris, where he
Paris, yeah.
participated in a very important financial summit. This is
Yeah.
to say that Egypt is really diversifying its foreign relations, whether with the East or the West. The West with
Absolutely.
the European
Absolutely.
countries, namely France,
Yeah.
as only an example, and the East with India, and this is another example.
Yes.
Do you see that these are messages sent to the world about our foreign relations and about our position, whether
Yeah.
regionally or internationally? And if yes, would you please elaborate?
Well, frankly speaking, what was going on through the last, at least last few weeks, from in our international relations, economic progress, and even our strong challenge to the crisis which is going through all the world. I mean, the economic crisis. The visit to Paris and what was there, the outcome has started to sort of that there will be a commitment from the developed countries to the developing countries to help them cross and pass this tough time now. And I
Yeah.
think this was the only way that the world should know its obligation, especially the developed countries, the rich countries. It is a time to show let's say, the fraternity, the brotherhood, for the sake of everybody, including even the rich countries,
Yeah.
which they are suffering more or less. Now, if we are there, and we are there, I mean there in these meetings, in these events, in these international communities and international gathering, international platforms, that's great for us. That shows what Egypt, how serious Egypt in its policies towards developing Egyptian economy, developing Egypt, and getting to the best of the
Toward
aspirations of the
sustainable
Egyptian people.
development and toward Egypt 2030, the new republic. Well, Engineer Mustafa Waly, our economic expert, thank you very much for your input, sir, and have a very good day. Right after the short break, we are going to return back with more, so stay tuned.